Welcome to Real Estate Investing Conversations with Adana.
It takes a village.
A wise person once said, the best revenge is your paper. So why not invest in real estate? Today's topic is creative real estate investing with Chris Monroe. Hello, today we have Mr. Chris Monroe, and he's going to talk to us about real estate investing as well, but he has a creative real estate investing that he would like to talk about. So I want to talk to Chris. I told him I wanted to wait to ask all my questions because I don't know a whole lot about his program, but I want to know a lot about it. I know people in our group want to know a lot about him. So I want to let Chris have it, and I want him to tell us everything that he does and how he invests in real estate. Go ahead, Chris.
Hello, and thank you for having me on.
No
First
problem.
of all, yes. So basically, what I do is creative real estate, which is not the same as most people tell you to do when they tell you to, go to, say, a realtor or go on the MLS and go buy houses retail. We buy houses in two different ways that we make money off of them. One is we buy them at a wholesale price, which is, below the retail value, usually 30% or more off the retail value if we can get it. Sometimes even more, just depends. And another way we do it is a creative long-term strategy where we actually do something called seller financing, where we actually will work out a deal directly with the seller. It does not have anything to do with, asking permission of the bank or asking permission of, any third parties or anything like that. It's the seller's house. If they want to sell it, we want to buy it. We work out a deal directly with them without middleman involvement, such as real estate agents, other wholesalers, things like that. So that's the basic overall gist of it, but it all goes deeper into that depending on, which strategy we use. But we do buy houses for cash in any condition, and that's regardless of how much the person may owe. So we have several strategies to actually help people who do want to sell.
All right. So do you have a program where you can help people to get started into wholesaling and seller financing in your creative purchasing?
Yes, most definitely. So we do have something called Woke Real Estate Investing Group. It's a free Facebook group on Facebook. Woke Real Estate Investing, and we also have a whole website dedicated to training, getting contracts, any type of coaching, even this cool hat here to say I buy houses. You can get them in multiple colors. All of that is available at wokerealestate.com. So we basically have a full training program. I would say it's probably over 200 free videos right on the YouTube channel as well. So, the learning and the basics of learning the actual strategy, how to market, how to talk to sellers, how to negotiate the deals, all of that stuff is bundled up in, like I said, over 200 videos that we have.
So you have free information out there for people to get.
Most definitely. So I always tell people to go do the free way, but some people are impatient. They're like, oh, I don't want to go watch 200 videos and learn all of this for free. I want to pay somebody. So that's why we have a coaching program as well for people who want the hands-on experience, somebody to walk them through, talk them through each deal, talk to sellers, negotiate with sellers, help them with contracts, all of the moving parts that comes along with creative real estate where we actually create a deal. Many times we create equity out of thin air just by making the deal structured in a proper way. We usually buy houses with little to nothing down, and that's literally what it is, nothing down. I know you probably heard that on a infomercial at 2 a.m. where people say you can buy houses and no money down, and it seems kind of scammy because they're kind of selling you on this big product or something, but I'm here to tell you that stuff is 100% real and it's factual. You actually can buy houses with nothing down. Actually, not even be buying houses with nothing down. You can be paid to take a house. How would I know? Because I've done it before multiple times, been paid to take a house. So, I can get more into those strategies as well as we go on here.
So just so the group knows, so for when you talk about wholesaling, you're basically, the process is basically going to an owner of a home and actually going to them and saying, hey, I would like to purchase your property, and you have a contract, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the process, but you have a contract pretty much, and say, hey, I'm going to buy a cash purchase, and then you have a list of buyers, cash buyers, that you say, hey, Sarah over here, her home is probably worth maybe 50,000 AR, well, I want to say 100,000 ARV, but we can purchase this property about $70,000. I'm going to I want to be on contract, and I'm going to get a portion of that sale at closing. And so you get a small portion of the actual cost, and this actual seller gets a portion of it. So you're actually owning the contract, not necessarily owning the home.
Right. So when it comes to actual wholesaling, that's a whole separate thing. I want to make sure this is, like when we're talking about wholesaling, that means you're not buying the house. You're just basically finding somebody, like you said, usually a distressed homeowner. Maybe they have inherited a property they don't want. Maybe they have a pre-foreclosure or something where they have an imminent threat where they're about to lose their house or something to that effect, where they will actually need to sell their house. Another time is, maybe divorce. Could be a lot of different reasons why people may want to sell. It could be a disgruntled landlord. Maybe they got into this real estate investing and got some bad information, got in it, put a bunch of money in it, and found out this stuff is hard when you don't know what you're doing, because there is a learning curve. That's the biggest thing. I want to make sure people understand. You have to know this game to play this game right and play it smart. So getting that education is very important. So we end up finding these type of people. We do different marketing strategies, such as to attract these type of people to come to our websites or different things like that. They find us. They say, yeah, you buy houses? Yeah, we buy houses. We have a conversation with them, a regular phone call. Usually most of this is virtual. We don't have to go. Even this was before the COVID-19 hit. We did a lot of deals right over the phone, sitting, from on your computer. So that's what makes it crazy too. Yeah, so we have a regular conversation with them. Most of the time it comes down to, what is their real situation? It's not always about just, I want to beat them up on the price and knock them down and get their house for $2. Some people do that, but that's not always the best case scenario. Many times we want to actually solve a problem for a person. And if we don't actually first identify that problem and then second solve that problem, the numbers won't matter anyway. So that's the first thing we try to do in our company here, is try to actually, identify the problem, solve the problem, and work out a win-win situation for everybody. Now, once we do work out a deal with that seller, we get that house under contract on a purchase and sales agreement. It's just a simple one-page document that we use here. And it basically outlines that they agree to sell us the house. We agree to buy the house. Now, on this contract or this agreement, it just says, our company might say Chris Monroe and or assigns. So we are basically able to assign this contract to an end buyer. Once we get it under contract, we have something called equitable interest. We are now basically part owner in this property as far as the law is concerned. We actually have equitable interest, and we can sell the rights to that contract to someone else. Now, once we have it under contract, we do another set of marketing, attract either people that are looking to buy houses. We post it up on different websites, Craigslist, Facebook, OfferUp, Let Go, you name it, marketing. You let the world know that, hey, yeah, I got this deal, or you can, network within real estate meetings and things like that to attract buyers to your buyers list. And many times if you have a deal, you don't really need to have a list. You just need to have a deal. If you got a real good deal, buyers are going to come and knock on your door and say, hey, I heard you got a house worth $100,000 for $30,000. You're leaving too much money on the table probably at that point, but that's another story.
Right.
They would basically find out that, yeah, you have a deal. You would do another document with them called an assignment agreement. They sign off to say they agree to buy your purchase and sales agreement that you have with the seller. They step into your shoes. They buy that house for X number of dollars, more than you got it contracted for. And the difference between what you have it contracted for with the original seller and whatever you sell it for to the end buyer is what you make. Now, I've seen people make as much as $147,000 on one deal on a house they never owned. That's not normal, but I'm just letting you know that that is possible. Other people make them, $2, $3, $4, $5 grand. My very first deal, I did $1,800 on it, but my biggest deal was about $20,000 on one deal on a spread like that. So, it varies, depends on how much you get it locked up for with the seller, depending on how much some end buyers are willing to pay for it. That difference is where you make your profit, all in a nutshell.
Now, are these homes owned free and clear? Do they have any liens on the property at all? And if it is, how difficult is it to work with that?
Good question. So we come across every type of scenario. We ran across things with, we had a house in Jennings, part of St. Louis here. A little $20,000 house had a $5 million lien on it.
Wow.
How that happened? Crazy, right? So we come to find out he bought it at a tax sale. It was attached to some other stuff, and we had to do some something they call a quiet title suit and get that taken off, basically. But we come across properties with liens. We come across properties with mortgages on them. We come across properties with all types of stuff, lots of repairs. It doesn't matter because there's nothing wrong with that house that money won't fix. That's something one of my mentors taught and said, you know, are you thinking about how ugly this house is? Oh, how stinky this house is. There ain't nothing wrong with this house that money won't fix. If you keep that in mind, if the numbers make sense and somebody's willing to pay money for it, it's probably a deal. So that's why they say, you see these signs that say, we buy ugly houses, things like that, because it don't matter how ugly it is, money can get it fixed all the way down to tearing it down to the ground and building it all the way back up. But that's, you know, extreme. But as far as those liens, yes, we have to deal with that stuff. Many times they have to be paid off. Sometimes they can be renegotiated down or negotiated away. And then there's a lot of other avenues, just depending on what lien pop up, if it's a mortgage or a loan, or if it's, you know, back taxes. I mean, there's a bunch of different types of liens that can come up on a property that can slow up your deal, or you have to work out something with that lien holder to say, hey, yeah, we're willing to pay it off to get this title clear so we can transfer title to the end buyer.
Okay. So now as far as seller financing is concerned, can you talk a little bit about that? What types of deals do you get into to do a seller financing?
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, when it comes to seller financing, basically as we're marketing and if we're attracting these motivated sellers or people that are distressed homeowners, we come across people who do not fit the wholesale formula. Like the example you said before, say somebody's house is worth $100,000. Say this house needs no repairs. Beautiful house worth $100,000 all fixed up, but their mortgage balance is about $90,000. That won't ever qualify for a wholesale deal because, as we said earlier, we're usually trying to get a 30 or more % discount on the property. So a wholesaler would have to come and say, oh, we can buy it for 60,000 or 70,000 or whatever number. But remember, they owe 90. A wholesaler can't touch that deal. But Mr. Chris Monroe comes in with a creative strategy and say, you know what, we can buy that house as is, take over those payments on your behalf and buy your house so you can move on to bigger and better things. Now, there are several ways that we do that. One of the ways that people may talk about is called subject to, where we buy houses subject to the existing financing. The loan stays in the seller's name and the property is transferred to the buyer, which would be us. The deed and the loan are separate. A lot of people think you have to pay it off. When I buy a house, you got to pay it off. That's simply not true. And also to add to that too, even with liens, you don't even have to pay those off. You can buy a house with a lien on it and do something called an exception. You can leave that lien in place as well, but that's more advanced. But I don't want to make this too complex.
Okay.
Just to let you know that there's a lot of things you can do that a lot of people tell you you cannot do. They just don't know how to do it. You know, they just assume that you can't. So when it comes to buying a house subject to the existing financing, basically we would buy that house. We would take full responsibility of all the maintenance and repairs for that property going forward. We would be deeded over the property. Like I said, that loan stays in the seller's name. We would make those payments on the seller's behalf, but we own the property for all other purposes other than that loan. The debt stays in their name, stays on their credit report, things like that. So that stays on their behalf, but everything else as far as the house is concerned, it's all our baby. We got a house that may be worth $100,000 for $90,000, but we don't put $90,000 in it. We might just pay the seller a little bit to walk away. Sometimes they don't even want anything, or we might pay just closing costs. I bought several houses for like $1,000, closing costs only, where we actually just take over a property that's worth $100,000. Say the balance is $90,000. We pay $1,000 in closing costs. I'm just rounding it up. May not even be that much. Maybe $800. We take over that payment property, and we do something else on an exit strategy called a lease option. That's my favorite exit strategy, although there are multiple exit strategies when you come to getting out of a deal, because every deal you look at, you want to know how you're going to get in it and how you're going to get out of it and how you're going to make money. Without that, why you get in the deal? But usually, like I said, so as what we're talking about here, so we buy a house subject to, say the payments on that house is $500 a month. We sell it on a lease option. And it's really not selling it, but you know, they call it selling on a lease option. But as far as a lease option is concerned, it's a lease and an option. It's two different documents separate. On the lease, it's a standard residential lease that just like you would do if you were renting a property. But this option, you have a second document where the end buyer, or the tenant buyer is what they're called, a tenant buyer would come in and pay some type of a fee. So say somebody comes and pays $10,000 down to move into the property. And many times that money goes right into your pocket depending on what the spread is on your deal there. So that's not taking money and putting it in the escrow. That's a check right on the front end, just like it would have been on a wholesale deal that you got for no reason other than knowing how to structure a deal and do some paperwork and talk the right talk. I mean, I can break it down in more detail, but it's kind of a lot, as you can tell.
So how does the bank, what do you do with the bank? How do they feel when they still own the loan, but you own the property? How does that work? Do you all communicate with the bank at all? And because they can ultimately still take the home, is that right? If the owner doesn't make the payments, or that the payment is not being made.
That is correct. So in the event that the payment is not being made for any reason, they can foreclose. So
Right.
That's why we say we're going to take over those payments on a seller's behalf. We're making the payments. As long as those payments are being made, the bank really does not care. The bank is in the business for long-term interest and making money off of you on something you'll never pay off for 30 years, basically. They're in the long money game. They're going to make money on interest, which for the first 14 to 16 years, you're really not even chipping away at the principal balance of a loan anyway. So many times we come across these properties that have little to no equity and they really can't sell it. And that's why they end up coming across a person like me that knows how to do these type of creative strategies where we can buy their house, leave that loan in their name, but we can buy the house and take full responsibility of the property so they don't have to worry about maintenance, repairs, property management, tenants, toilets, termites, or any of the other things that comes along with dealing with real estate. They can move on to bigger and better things and never have to worry about that house anymore. We take full responsibility for everything from there. But as far as the bank is concerned, they do have a right to foreclose in the event. One reason is if you don't make those payments, like you said, and two, they do have something called the due on sale clause, which means the bank has the right to call a loan due in the event if they see that the loan transfer or see that the deed transfer from the seller to the actual end buyers to our name. They have the right to trigger, basically it could trigger a due on sale clause, but 99.999% of the time it doesn't happen. Not saying that it won't happen, it can happen, but we do have some strategies that we do to actually make sure that that does not happen.
Okay. So what markets are you in? Because I know some. And Will has a question too. So I want to say this, and then Will, you can speak too. But what markets are you in? Because I know that some places are a little bit, some localities are a little bit different on how they treat real estate. So what markets are you in?
So I operate in St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri market. Like I said, we do buy houses outright for cash, and then we also do these creative strategies as well, which is a whole lot better return on investment. If you can buy $1,000 house, cash flow, $300, $400, $500 a month until the end of time. I mean, that's the long money. You basically, are making money longer in that way. But I operate out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, awesome. That sounds great. Go ahead. Well, you had a question.
No, I was just going to say that the question that you were addressing before, if the bank decides to call the property, it would basically just revert to the person that you got it from, right? And they would owe the money.
No, it's a legal action. So when you got legal action, we in America, the litigious society, you can fight anything. You could try to do some stuff, but we got ways to get around it, like I said earlier. So one of the ways we do is, there is a law that came out in the early 1980s, the St. Gaudens Germain Act of 1982, I believe, that says that basically in the event that a seller, a private owner, transferred their name or transferred their deed into a trust, which we do all of our properties, we hold them in a trust. If we transfer it into a trust, the bank cannot call the loan due. It prohibits the bank from calling the loan due. So they can't even call the loan due anyway because it's against the law, the way we structure our deals. Everybody don't do it that way. Some people transfer it straight from the seller straight to an LLC, and they don't have any problems either. But like I said, the way we do it is we transfer all of our property straight into what they call a land trust, but it's really not a land trust because only 6 states recognize a land trust. We put ours into a revocable trust. A grantor revocable trust is what it's actually called legally. And like I said, all of this stuff is legal mumbo jumbo, and I don't want to make it too in depth, but there are ways to avoid the due on sale clause. And even if they did try to do it, most of the time they're going to back down. If we're making payments, they have no reason to call the loan. I mean, why would a bank want to stop somebody that's paying on time and early every month? I mean, that would be crazy for the bank, right? Mm-hmm. The bank is not in the real estate business. The bank is in the loan business. They want you to pay that payment for 30 years, and if you can, please refinance and get another 30 years if they can get it out of you. They don't ever want you to pay it off if you want the truth.
Right. So you talk about the virtual wholesaling too. So how do you find those homes and make the deals virtually? So I'm assuming that you have like a specific title company that you deal with. How do you do that virtually?
Yeah, so this whole business, everything in real estate deals through what? Paperwork. When we get through, people can get in the way, the house can get in the way. If your paperwork is right, you can make the paperwork make that paperwork. So you got to get your paperwork right. We don't even, going to see houses and all that and running on out, because a lot of people ask that question too, like, has things changed for you during the coronavirus now that you can't go and do real estate? I bought 3 houses during this pandemic, and many of them, like I say, we do deals virtually by speaking on the phone properly to people, knowing how to have good conversations, quality conversations with people that need to sell. We work out something with them. We send them something on like DocuSign or HelloSign or one of those signature sign signatures. So as long as they do that, many times we can work a deal out just to get a property under contract. So that's all we need is that purchase and sale. Matter of fact, this is what it looks like. It's a 1-page document, purchase and sales agreement, and it's real simple. 1 page, ain't even nothing on the back. It's sent over to them via DocuSign. They sign it. That gives us equitable interest. We can assign this to somebody else and never go to the house. In fact, we did a house like that, I want to say last couple months ago. I never saw the house, never met the seller, never met the buyer. The house was here in St. Louis, had tenants in it. They took all the pictures and stuff. The buyer was in California, and the seller was in Houston. So I didn't even meet none of the people, and we did the whole deal, made $10,000 assignment fee on a house I never even saw. Now, that's just to show you that it's possible. Now, there's ways to do that, just like I said, by knowing how to talk on the phone to people, knowing how to manage digital electronic signature stuff. And most of the time, the title company is the one that handles most of the transaction anyway. Your job as the investor or the wholesaler is find the buyer and find the seller, or reverse that. Find the seller and then find the buyer for the seller, make your money in the middle. All the paperwork and transactions and all of that stuff is coordinated through our title company, and they know how to do deals and send paperwork around. Because like I said, it's all paperwork.
So are you looking at the local, online property records? How are you finding these homes?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we get deals all different types of ways. Referrals is a big one. A lot of people don't realize the power of referrals. Hey, yeah, Chris helped me out. Dang, he just sent me a whole deal. Thank you. We pay them a little money for kicking us something down. Send them $1,000 or $2,000 or something for referrals just to send us deals. So that's one way. Another way, we do bandit signs, those signs on the side of the road that say, we buy houses. Ours say something a little different. It says, sell your house for full price with a phone number. That piques people's interest a little more. Like, what do you mean sell your house for full price? Because that's not normal. Like, what do you mean? Now they just got on the phone with us, and now we can figure out the day they do want to sell, hey, they do need to sell, and now we come up with the creative strategy to buy the house. Another way we do deals is we pull lists. We pull lists off of sites and things like that, like a probate list, pre-foreclosure list, absentee owner list, divorce list, bankruptcy list, all these different types of lists that we can actually pull. And then we skip trace, where we actually go take that list and pull and get their phone numbers and email addresses and reach out to them. I have cold callers in the Philippines that actually call out every day, 7 days a week, where they call out and get hung up on, cussed out, and everything in between. Sometimes every once in a while, somebody say, you know what, I do want to sell. What do you want to give me? Well, let's talk about it. And they go on and go through the trained script. This is one of our scripts right here. It's just a simple intake sheet where they actually go through and ask some basic questions about the house, condition of the property, their situation. If we're able to work everything out, how soon would they like to close? Why are they selling? We need to know that, because like I said earlier, we're not solving their problem. What are we doing anyway? So we have to find out all the problems, identify all the problems, and formulate some type of offer for them. And many times it works out, and sometimes it don't. Sometimes it just, if they say no to terms and they want a higher cash offer than we can give, it's just no deal. We just put them in a follow-up and keep it moving. So we do have multiple ways that we actually bring in leads on a regular basis. And that's basically what we do.
All right, so for the properties that you are now, that you also rent out, how does that work? Do you have, your own property management firm? How does that work? Because that seems like a whole nother type of business as well.
Good question. So it is another type of business. It's not property management at all. There's nothing to manage. We just collect checks like Bank of America and make payments. That's all we do. We collect the check and make a payment and keep the difference. That's it. There's no management to do, because when we sell these properties on a lease with an option to buy, like I was talking about earlier, we transfer the responsibility of the maintenance and repairs to that end buyer. So we don't have any maintenance, repairs, property management, tenants, toilets, termites, or problems like that. All we do is collect that check and make that payment to the bank.
Okay. All right. All right. That's good. That's good. And you have any questions, Will?
You're on mute, Will. We can't hear you.
Will.
I said, not at the moment. I'm taking notes feverishly.
All right. I hope I'm not going too fast for you, because I know it's a lot of information. And so one of those sources that we actually promote is called wokesource.com. Wokesource.com, WOKE. You can go on there where you can actually get a free trial to actually pull lists nationwide. You get MLS data where you can pull right off the multiple listing service, just like a real estate agent nationwide. You can pull vacant homes. You can pull any type of property you really can think of, all the way down to how many bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, zip codes. It's really a neat tool there you can use. That's one way. And then when we pull that list, we take it over to wokeskiptracing.com and get the actual phone numbers and email address for the person, so we can actually reach out to them to see if they want to sell. That's wokeskiptracing.com, where we can get phone numbers and email addresses for as low as only 15 cents per match, not per search, per match. We only pay for you only pay for what you actually find the number to. And you can reach out to people from there. Then you got to go through the process of either cold calling them or texting them. And like I said, on my website, we actually break down all of the services that we recommend and use for this business at wokerealestate.com. Everything I'm talking about is all broken down in plain English, detailed all the way out at wokerealestate.com.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm writing that down. Wokerealestate.com. Awesome.
Yep. So that's why I tell people to go on there and watch the videos and, learn. Like I said, it's over 200 videos on there to learn all of this stuff, from wholesaling, virtual wholesaling, to creative strategies, what magic words you want to say to the seller, to, say the right things. Because that's the thing that a lot of people do. They go and say the wrong thing. Like, say if somebody say, yeah, they will be interested in selling their house on terms, they will go in and say, yeah, how much down you need? No, you don't say stuff like that. That's putting yourself out of position. You say, well, we usually buy with nothing down, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh, okay, I'm done talking about the down payment at that point. Now, if I say, we usually buy with nothing down, okay, and they're like, oh, no, we got to get something down. So what's the lowest you can take as far as a down payment? So, when you're in the right position, you can do better things for the mission. That's what I try to say. Instead of going in and, overplaying your hand and, oh, I'll give you this much down, and, oh, I'll do these, making these wild claims, putting yourself in a bad position, it makes the game so much harder. And that's why a lot of people are not successful with it, because they go in saying the wrong things. And so, like I said, I have videos that go over all the details on what to say, how to say it, how to negotiate the deals, and just be a person. It's not really a script thing. It's more so being a regular person, having a regular conversation, kind of like what we're having right now.
All right. That sounds good. Go ahead, Will.
Also, on your website, do you have like some of the example documents that you use and that kind of thing?
Yeah, good question. So on wokerealestate.com, we have all of the documents that you would ever need for any type of deal, whether it's a subject to type transaction, whether it's a seller financing type transaction where they don't have a loan at all, where there's owned free and clear. That's some of the best deals, because you can work it out straight with them. And many times you can get it for 0% interest. Ask me how I know, because I got some. 0% interest where you're paying all the money going straight toward the principal. I love that. And so, yeah, all the contracts are there for that. The trust documents are on there as well if you want to put your property in a trust, like I was talking about earlier. What else is on there? Pretty much everything. Really, everything you would need is right there, plus all the free stuff is right there, the videos to watch. And if you say, you know what, I watched the videos and I still got questions and I need somebody to hold my hand, walk me through a deal, talk to my sellers for me, help me do this, help me with getting my marketing up, help me get my business structured, all of that type of stuff. Because it's a lot of moving parts. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it's just an easy thing that you can do, but a person that's dedicated and motivated can take the time, take 2 or 3 weeks and say, I'm going to watch all these dang on videos and learn how to do this game and stop making excuses, because there ain't no excuse no more. It was an excuse at one time where we say, well, we don't really know how to do this stuff. But this is the information age. The information age. This little thing here, this little smartphones is the best thing they ever created. This gets that 400-year head start cut all the way down, because we can learn how to learn what they've been doing for years, and we can do what we need to do to get, financially successful and financially free. So wokerealestate.com is the #1 source that I recommend, and join that Facebook group as well, where we actually go in and you can be surrounded by like-minded individuals that's actually doing deals, talking about deals, structuring deals. And then we do a weekly show as well. I didn't mention that earlier. Each and every Monday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, where we either go over different case studies, where we go in and pull back the lid and say, look what we're doing under here. This is how we structured this deal here. That's how we underwrote the deal, or this is how we did everything in regards to, in particular, individual deals. We also bring on guests every once in a while. Matter of fact, this week I think we have Ty, aka the Flip Man, on this week. And then we have some other people coming up as well going into the month of August. So we do, we put out so much information, so much content. It's actually content overload, information overload. But if somebody who says they really want to learn this game and really want to change their life, it's up to them to make that choice in their mind to say, I'm going to go learn this game and implement what they learn, because knowledge without taking action on it is dead. So get the knowledge, take the action on it. That's what I always preach and teach, and, go from there.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I mean, for the short time that we talked, I learned something new. I didn't know about. I know every time I hear people talk about wholesaling or even about liens, and it's difficult. Stay away from liens. And so to hear that when you talk about the creative investing, it does. I am interested in finding out how you are creating those and putting those types of deals together with liens on the property, because you do run into that for the most part.
Yeah, many times you just pay the lien off. It's just part of the deal. You just pay it off. If that's a lien that you can pay off, sometimes you can renegotiate the lien away. Sometimes you can get them, like if it's a second mortgage, you can get it down about 10% of what they owe on it if it's a second lien on a property, because they know if in the event that first one is going to foreclose, everything below that gets wiped out anyway. So, there's different strategies and different things you can do to actually work deals, but liens aren't really the biggest thing. The biggest thing is actually getting a seller who wants to sell, who's willing to be cooperative. If you can get a cooperative seller that's willing to, do what they need to do, sign over on the paperwork and do, pretty much what they need to do to get the job done, many times liens won't be your biggest problem. Biggest problem is getting sellers to do what you need them to do. And finding buyers is just all about finding deals. There's buyers for everything. There's no shortage on buyers. It's a shortage of good deals. And that's why I tell people to focus their energy on finding good quality deals that you can actually make money on. And there's so much money you can make in this business, it still blows me away, because I've only been in this business about 2 years. Matter of fact, I just hit my 2-year mark. I closed my very first wholesale deal August of 2018. Went on to close about 17 wholesale deals in my first year. And I already own 10 properties. So that's in 2 years. That's kind of quick. 2 years. I mean, people go to college for 2 years and don't get nothing but some debt at the end of it.
Right.
I say, learn this real estate. And in fact, I've been advocating lately, and it might be too strong to say, drop out of college and go learn real estate. That's how serious this stuff is. Drop out and go learn real estate. I don't care what you're going to do. Learn this stuff here, because this can change your life for real and put some actual wealth and passive income in your pocket. And that's what I always advocate for.
Now, have you seen an increase in calls recently because of COVID and the effects of it, people losing their jobs? Have you seen an increase? And I'm probably sure that you haven't seen too much change now, but what about in the last couple of months?
It's about the same. It's generally about the same. You just have to adjust your numbers for what, if you're doing wholesaling, you just need to adjust your numbers a little bit for what the buyers are actually willing to buy for. Because when it comes to wholesaling, a lot of cash buyers stop buying. They were like, oh, I'm afraid, or I don't know what the market's going to do. Right. And they are playing high risk. Cash buying houses is a risky business. That's why, you got to know what you're doing. It's 3 ways to get in real estate. I tell people all the time. One way to get in is cash. We know about being a big cash buyer. You got lots of money stacked all the way to the ceiling, don't know what to do with it, or stuck in a 401k, earning little to no money, or in a bank account, even worse, earning less than 1%, losing money because you're not accounting for inflation. So that's one way, cash buyer. Second way, is going to have that good credit score, that 760, 800 credit score that most people don't have, as we already know, because 3/4 of the marketplace cannot qualify for a loan right now, probably more than that with the COVID-19 stuff going on. And then the third way, which is the way I always say, is the knowledge. Take the time to get the knowledge, because when you get the knowledge, you can elevate your cash and your credit, and you won't lose your cash and your credit because you don't know what you're doing. And there's many people that have done that, came in the game just thinking, oh, I got big money, I can just buy my way in. You still need to know what you're doing. You still need to know what you're doing. Get around people who are actually doing deals, actually are successful. Pick their brain, ask good questions, and if you have to, get a coach or a mentor. If you feel like you really want to get in the game and know what you're doing, because it gets high risk when you're buying houses outright for cash. But the way we do the business with wholesaling, little to no risk, on terms, little to no risk. I got no money in the deal. If you put $1,000, $2,000 into a property, what's that? You know what I mean? Even if you messed up, oops, I lost $2,000 versus, oops, I lost $100,000 buying a house, all right, paying out a loan and all of that, or got stuck with a property or whatever, you know what I mean? Or having hard money loans and things like that. So there's a lot of ways to skin this cat. And, I just want to let you know that, there's a lot of ways to do it. And most people don't really realize that there are so many ways to do this other than just the risky way. So I'm against the risk, and I'm all about the wealth.
All right. Sounds good.
You got a question?
Yeah. So in terms of identifying the liens and other encumbrances on the property, how do you do that?
Yeah. So the number one way is through the title company. But typically, we even ask sellers. See, that's part of our basic questionnaire. How much you still owe on it, Mr. Seller? And they'll tell you, oh, about $80,000. Great. What's the payment on that every month? Oh, it's $750 a month. And does that include PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? And then, you go through the script from there. So it's more so, identifying and talking to the people. People know. You can ask them, yeah, are any liens or anything on this house we should be aware of? And even if there are any liens, that's the seller's responsibility. That's not my lien. That's your thing to clean up. We can help you get it organized, or we can help negotiate for you on your behalf with something called an authorization to release information, which is a free document within our Facebook group we give out as well, in a woke real estate investing group. It's an authorization to release information, which is a document that just gives us permission to speak to the bank or speak to a lender or speak to a creditor or predator on the seller's behalf, where we can actually talk on their behalf, ask questions, figure out what we can do and negotiate for them. So that's really important to get that type of stuff when you know that somebody does have liens, so that you can try to work something out on their behalf. Because if they haven't done anything for many years, what make you think they're going to do something now? And many people sit up and just have those liens and just sitting. And you're like, y'all ever going to pay that off, or ever going to address that? And they won't do anything with it until you come along and you say, yeah, we're trying to buy your house, and we just found out you got this lien on it. And it's going to come out of their seller proceeds. I mean, that's the default answer. If there are liens, it comes out of seller proceeds. If they're not getting any proceeds, then it may not go through as a deal if it's not going to wipe out all of the underlying liens and things like that.
And there's no objections at the title company once they see that there's a lien on the property and you go to close it. And so there's no, they don't say anything, or they don't have any issues with that at all.
Well, yeah, there's an issue, because it's going to come up. They're going to give you a title report, usually within 5 to 7 days, or however long the title company takes to actually pull reports, which means they're going to pull a report from the local sewer company, the water company, any of the liens that can be put on in your jurisdiction. Every place is different, but typically almost every house I ever bought had a sewer lien on it. Why is that? I don't know. $300, $400, $500 all the time. And they'll either pay it or we'll pay it, depending on the situation of the seller. They always have some type of lien or something on it, some small lien, usually nothing crazy. And if we're buying a house subject to, like I was saying earlier, that lien stand in place anyway. So it don't matter. We know about it. We can buy it and leave it on there. And just like I said earlier as well, you can leave that lien on there depending on, what it is, if it's something you want to leave on there. But typically you want to get a clear title when you're selling a deal to a cash buyer, an end buyer. It's all about what that buyer wants. That's the real answer. What does the buyer feel about that lien being on there? If the buyer like, hey, yeah, you can leave it on there, or if the buyer like, oh, no, I ain't paying it, or oh, no, that end buyer on a wholesale deal, that's really the decision maker on that. What do they want to do with it? What do they decide that if they want that property free and clear, which is what they normally want, 99% of the time, we want a free and clear property, no liens, no encumbrances, no baby mama drama or any of that other stuff. We want a nice, clean property, ready to go. We can go in and fix it up and flip it up, or whatever we're planning on doing with it.
So those are usually your lease options. The one that you have the liens on, those are usually your lease option properties.
Well, it depends. Every case is different. Like I said, it depends on that end buyer. Now we have bought property. So I'll give an example. I bought a property. Matter of fact, my very first subject to deal back in December of 2018. We bought it. We had it in escrow to close and everything. And I had to pay about maybe $3,500 out of pocket because they was 3 months behind on their mortgage and about $1,000 in closing costs. So I had to pay about $3,400 out of pocket. Come to find out, a $400 and some dollar sewer lien popped up on the property. The seller told me, yeah, I'll give you the money for it later. So I said, okay. I told the title company, we'll buy it with an exception, what I was just talking about earlier. Leave that lien on there. We don't care about it being there. We'll take the property with that lien and the subject to lien. So they got the loan and the sewer lien still on the property when we transfer the title.
Okay.
About 2 weeks later, the seller sent me the check for $438 or whatever it was, and I used that money to pay off the sewer bill. So it was no big deal. So it's all about the end buyer. What does that end buyer want? Now, most people don't know that, hey, I can pay it later or whatever. I can transfer without paying it off. They assume that, oh, everything must be clean, and I don't know about that. I'm scared of that. Scared of their own shadow because they don't know. That's why I say when you start learning the game and playing this game, there's so many things you can do that people told you that you couldn't do that are simply not true.
Okay.
So in terms of generating deals, do you ever do any mailers or anything like that?
Yeah, so we use something called Deal Machine where I do have a couple of drivers that go out where they go do driving for dollars, where they go drive down through different neighborhoods, take pictures of houses that look like they're abandoned. It's an app they put right on their phone. And from that app, we can send a postcard, something like this with a picture of their house on it. This got returned because they didn't have nobody there. So it has a picture of the house on the postcard, and they call us back and say, yeah, we either want to sell or take me off your mailing list, or sometimes they don't call at all. Mailing is actually one of the lowest response. I think they say you get like a 1% return, but we have bought about 3 houses from mailers. So I won't say it won't work, but you got to have a decent budget to do it. But as far as this Deal Machine app, I even tell people to go try that out for free. If you're doing any type of driving for dollars, put in a promo code WOKE, W-O-K-E. You'll get a free trial and you'll get some free deal credits to try it out for free. See if you like it. And that's what we use for mailers. That's about the only mailing we do, is after we know that we've identified this house is distressed. We've identified that this owner lives in California and the house is here in St. Louis. And we typically either try to call them first, and if they don't get a phone call response, then we'll push the button, simple button on the phone on the app there, and send them that mailer, and they'll respond back from that most of the time.
So most of it is incoming calls from people that want to sell their home.
No, most of ours is outbound. We do, like I say, cold call. I have 2 cold callers in the Philippines that call out 7 days a week. So we do.
How did you find those people to cold call from the Philippines? Is it like a service or something?
Nope. I took my time and, like I said, learn the game. I say, how do you do this stuff? Everything we talking about here, it expounds. Matter of fact, I do have videos on that as well to actually show you how to find VAs, how to interview the VAs, how to train them. So what we did is basically I have about 95 internal videos that I created just for the company, just for St. Louis cash buyers, to show what we do as far as calling sellers, what we do as far as dealing with dialers, as far as dealing with the phone system, as far as dealing with text messages, as far as dealing with talking to sellers, everything from the rooter to the tutor, all of that stuff. I break it down for my virtual assistant so they can do all of that without me. So I made a video because say, virtual assistant may not stay, they might quit, or you might fire them for cheating on the clock or whatever they might do. So there's a couple of places you can find virtual assistants. One of them is upwork.com.
Oh, yeah.
Another one is onlinejobs.ph. You can find them on Fiverr. And many times if you're active on the internet like me, they come in my inbox. Hey, you do real estate. We want to work for you, things like that. So, you can find them, but the thing is you still have to screen them and you still have to train them. So, when it comes to dealing with virtual assistants, I'm all about in-house training. That's my mentality. You can have somebody or a company do it, but I've seen a lot of people complain about it like, oh, I thought they were trained or I thought they were good. But I'm a person in my business. The buck stops with me. I don't pass the buck to somebody else to train my people. I want them knowing this is how I want you to handle business. This is how I want you talking to sellers. We do some role play. This is how we speak on the phone. All of that stuff, I train them. And then, like I said, they watch the videos and I come back role play with them. Then I put them on the phone. Let's go. All they got to do is know how to handle the first, major objections. How'd you get my number? What are you calling me for? How much you want for the house? There's only so many things people are going to say on a cold call. You know what I mean? So once they can handle those basic objections and, get down to the nitty gritty, next thing you know, we got the house.
All right. Sounds good. So how can we get in contact with you? I know you have the websites on getting some information about some of your listings, but do we get in contact? I see some stuff behind you, the hashtag Stay Woke and Chris Monroe STL.com.
That's right. So yeah, you can go, like I said, for real estate purposes, you can go to wokerealestates.com. If you're looking for me as an individual, Chris Monroe STL on all social media. There's Snapchat, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's YouTube, TikTok. You don't stop. Rock it to the bang, bang, biggity bop at Chris Monroe STL. So I'm easy to find. I'm all over the place. Like you say, my Instagram is good too. I do a lot of live seller calls right on there, like on the live stream where you actually see me on the phone negotiating with sellers, talking to buyers, working deals, all that type of stuff. I lift up the hood. I'm an open book. I share the game out with anybody who want to learn it. So there's really no excuse, like I said earlier, for anybody who wants to learn the game to get in this game and start taking action, start marketing, and start talking to some people. We are actually right now creating a mobile app called Pinpoint Assist. It's a mobile app we're creating to actually assist investors or assist business owners in general with, as far as, like I said earlier, we do the bandit signs. People, you might give them 50 bandit signs and say, hey, yeah, I put them all out, but you don't know if they put them all out. So this app will actually pinpoint and put a time mark, and they can take a picture of the app, of the sign that they put up, to show when they actually put up the bandit signs on your behalf for your company, so you can pay them accordingly. It helps you become 100% virtual, whether you're in your own market or any other market. And like I said, that's coming out here in the next couple of months, the Pinpoint Assist app. That's something we're developing as well.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Chris. I learned a lot today.
All right. So if you ever have any questions, don't delay. Go ahead and stay.
Well, I'm a part of the group, so hopefully I can look through those videos and learn a lot more.
Oh yeah, it goes deep. This rabbit hole goes very deep, and that's why I say learn it as you go. Implement it, and if you have questions, don't feel afraid to post it up in the group. There's no such thing as a stupid question. A lot of people say, oh, you should know that. No, you don't have to know anything. I don't assume anybody knows anything. I just try to make it simple to digest, simple to go ahead and start taking action and start changing lives generationally. Generational wealth is what it's all about.
Right. Sounds good. Thank you. Do you have any last minute for you, Will?
Oh, no, I learned a lot today. I think we'll be in contact.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right.
Okay.